and
Yeah.
Glenn. Let's just move along with it. Again, the lens of
Okay.
this demo is really for John. So introducing John Vandervries there. He's the sales manager extraordinaire for our sheep plants in Wisconsin. John, can you expand on that a little bit if you want?
Yeah, for sure. So I'm over the 3 southeastern Wisconsin sheep plants from the sales, customer service, design, and pricing side. Wisconsin Packaging is going to the newest, or the second newest version of Amtech, I should say, first, and then the other plants will likely follow down the road. So I'm interested to see what can replace CRM. We're still using CRM as really just a viewing numbers tool, and then sales analysis in Amtech as well. Current state at Great Lakes Division and Midland Division, where the sales reps can easily get their current backlog, current sales, month to date, year to date. They can look at hit ratios and stuff along those lines, account specific, a bunch of different data. So trying to see how the Wisconsin Packaging team, who has lacked data for eternity, can get more information to not have to go through the controller or one of the managers for every single report.
Sure.
Ramon and Patik, just one request too, as you take us through the demo. Remember, John has 2 lenses. He's looking at the individual sites, but he's also a regional executive. So make sure to comment on the overall warehouse for Amtech that you guys, the enterprise warehouse, and how that might work for him as we go through the demo.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
Thanks, John. That's a great point.
to expand on that is the security aspect, I think, for roles and rows where certain people can only see certain pieces, etc. That kind of security as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So
And the roll-ups, Ramon, too. So if John wants to see how the region's doing, he can see that. All right, let's go.
all right, so let me go ahead and share my screen here and we can get started. So making sure that everybody can see the screen.
You can see it.
Okay, great. So what you're seeing here is basically the central management site, like a management portal where you'll be able to manage basically your dashboards, reports, your users that are going to be, using this system, as well as the security aspect that we talked about that, Ramon and the rest, some of you may have seen. We have a role-based security inside of this platform. So, we have this concept of a user group. So to think about it this way, let's say Wisconsin Packaging has 10 sales agents, and you're obviously the manager of all those 10 sales agents, let's say. So you could technically create a group called sales agent or sales viewers, right? Let's say, and you create let's say 2 or 3 dashboards that are sales oriented, and then a couple of reports that are sales oriented. So instead of going through each and every one of those 10 sales agents and assigning them permissions individually and doing that repeated task 10 times, you could essentially just assign the permission at the group level and then put all those 10 sales agents inside of that group, and then they would inherit those permissions, making your life easier in terms of the management. So that concept is manageable here from this site. So as you can see here, we have user accounts, user groups that you can create, and then ultimately add user accounts to that user group. In addition to that, we also let you categorize dashboards and reports. So you can kind of use user groups and those categories to your advantage. So for example, we have 2 sets of views, right? You have 2 sets of lenses. One's the enterprise view, which has multi-plant in our Amtech database, right? And then you have the individual plant view. So you could essentially think of it like this, where you could have a group that's called just Wisconsin Packaging plant users, right? That have access to specific data from your plant only. It doesn't have visibility to the rest of the enterprise. You could also have specific categories where you can say Wisconsin Packaging sales, and then you have another category for enterprise sales for users that are going to be looking at the enterprise view across all plants versus specific users that only need access to a specific plant's data, right? So these two concepts of user groups and categories can be used in tandem to basically create a user-based security model that really works for your organization, and it's flexible. Okay. Along with that, you'll see one other thing here is scheduling. We've received a ton of use cases, throughout the industry that say, hey, we have one person that wakes up at like 4 in the morning, goes into Amtech, runs all these various reports out of the system, and then downloads them locally, puts all those numbers into a spreadsheet, and then ultimately sends it out to someone at like 10 in the morning, right? And I'm sure that use case is valid for you guys as well in one of your plants. So scheduling is basically you're going to create that report that anyone that needs to see it, and then you'll ultimately just tell Ava in the scheduling menu to say, hey, I want this report to go out to someone Monday to Friday at 10 a.m. And then it'll just do it automatically, and it's the data that's fresh from 10 a.m. right? So the key point there is someone that's running the reports at 4 a.m. is getting data as of 4 a.m. And then ultimately someone that's looking at it at 10 a.m. is looking at stale data at that point. So this helps keep your data up to date when the user receives it, and it's automatic. And once you set it, you can forget about it, right? So it makes your life easier there. You did mention some stuff about quote hits, right? So I want to share with you a dashboard on that note. So this is a quote hits analysis dashboard, let's say. So instead of just grabbing your numbers directly out of new biz right now, it doesn't give you a visual indication of how you're doing, and this sort of does. And along with that, you can also interact with this data, right? So you can pick date ranges. So currently in Amtech, when you go in, you're dealing with a bunch of filter screens first. You're setting up your filters, and then you're running the report. And then ultimately, if you want to look at another perspective, another range, you're closing that report out and do it again, and then you're running the report again. And then you lose the older report unless you save it. And then, it's really hard to basically compare. With this, we give you the ability to interact with the data to say, hey, right now I'm looking at 1 year. I'm sorry that this is stale data. This is from our demo database. So ultimately, you can just, let's use our imagination and pretend this is 2019 or 2020 to 2021, right? So in this case, I can actually move this timeline along here, and I can look at the last, 3 months here, just like that, and then move this along to any period that I want to see and compare, right? And then the entire dashboard filters. And then if I wanted to look at a specific sales agent, for example, I can pick one, or I can do multi-select and pick two and compare between them and see what my metrics are. Along with that, I can drill down, right? So you might have certain areas that you want to focus on in your data. So when you print a report that's 10 pages long, you can easily get lost in that data and, ultimately miss out on what you're really trying to get to. So here, I can drill into 2017. I have 2 months to look at because I'm filtering on those months. And then I can drill into a particular month and see and drill down to my customers, right? So that's very much possible. And then along with this, we understand that, exporting your data out to Excel and doing additional analytics is important to a lot of users. So for example, here, if I wanted to filter on these two sales agents, for example, I can then take any one of these controls. I can either take this gauges control, export it out to Excel. I can take this chart, export it to Excel, or I can take the entire dashboard and export it to PDF, do annotations, and then send it out to whoever that needs to see it. So Excel, we keep in mind like each of these controls can be exported out to Excel fairly easily, and that data becomes actionable at that point to say, hey, you can even use that data as a lookup in your other.
So Pratik,
Yep.
in the regional example, so we have Midland, Great Lakes, and Wisconsin packaging. So with I'm assuming a similar concept look and feel could be done for the region where the 3 sites would be on the left, and
Yeah.
John could drill down into those.
Absolutely, yeah. That's the idea behind it. So here, Let me see if I have another example of a dashboard I can show you.
Now, John, just to be fair there, that's where Ramon is tasked with working with Patik and the team over time to build that enterprise warehouse that'll grab multiple sites that's not there today.
Yeah, because we'll have to all be on the same version of Amtech before that can happen, correct?
Well, no, it works on different versions of Amtech as long as, some of the tables that we pull from are very consistent between. So here's an example of like a sales analysis dashboard, right? These are two different plants. It just so happens they're duplicated, so you won't see much differences here. But to the point here is, I'm looking at Fort Washington site now, and then these are my different sales agents and trends for the Fort Washington site, and then I can easily flip over to another site. Or if I want to compare, let's say if I had like 3 or more sites here, right? I can also do multi-select and pick 2 sites and look at and compare those 2 together, right? And then export a lot of these data out to Excel if I wanted to.
And
so
Patik, this is pulling right from the Amtech databases, right? So there's no mixing and slicing of Excel spreadsheets or PDF files. This is all like live, so to speak.
Live to the point where you want to refresh your data warehouse, right? We usually recommend doing it in like every 3-hour periods. But that's up to you on how fast you want to refresh it. If you think about it, like most people or most businesses do invoicing like once a day, that too in the afternoon. So, technically you're looking at yesterday's data anyway when you pull up a sales dashboard in the morning or a sales detail analysis in the morning. And then towards the evening, you'll get that day's worth of invoices entered, and that's your sales, right? So I'm sure that's the same for Wisconsin Packaging as well. So, if you open up this dashboard, it's the latest and greatest data coming out of Amtech, and these numbers obviously, we'll be working together on that anyway, because I have seen in instances where a certain packaging company will calculate some metrics slightly differently than the rest of the industry. And those minor cases here and there, we can figure out and just say, okay, for Wisconsin Packaging, we're going to look at contribution this way. For another plant, we might look at it a different way. And then ultimately, the contribution number will be in the central data warehouse with your calculations, and it should match whatever report you run inside of Amtech.
And John, there will be work, in the ahead with Ramon and the analytics team internally, because I'm not sure that you guys call the same box the same thing at all 3 sites today, right? The same part number
Style.
Or style. So Ramon and his team will work with you to try to figure out how to map different types of data so that it'll roll up into the totals.
Yeah, and we provide things like corporate codes. Some people use them to integrate with other systems and stuff like that. But with analytics, we kind of, if you're not using the corporate code functionality, then we say, hey, across all 3 of your plants, if you have one customer that's the same, you can assign them like a corporate level code, and then with that, we can group that customer together, and then look at their sales across the enterprise that way. And that helps instead of seeing 3 different records of the same customer, right? If they're named differently or something like that.
Patik, are there any canned reports that would be available right away once the data warehouse is available that John would be able to take advantage of while we wait on customized stuff?
Yeah, we could easily. There's a couple of canned reports that we can include, like quote hits is going to be included. The sales one that I just showed, like this dashboard here. Let's look at that. Like a plant level sales detail analysis can be included, where you can compare different sales agents, look at products by sales by product code, and then ultimately look at the invoice number details that you can drill into. So yeah, these dashboards will be included, and these are basically to give you an understanding of what's possible, right? We've tried to mix up all these dashboards and try to use all the different controls that we can. So like this example here has a combo box control. This has a grid control with conditional formatting in it to say, hey, if the contribution percent is below a certain level, color it a different way. So I can see, I can have a visual indicator to see, hey, I need to focus on this particular customer invoices, etc. And then, these are using gauge controls, cards for filtering. And then we also have, let me show you something on the production side, which John's not gonna be interested in, but just to give you an example of, the different controls. So this is like a converting production dashboard that's also included. And this gives you like a little bit of, like line chart. Oh, this is the different one. This one, sorry. Here we go. Yeah, so this dashboard will give us a little bit of, stacked bar graphs, pie charts, line charts that can be drilled, they're all drillable charts. So for example, here, we break it down into like your utilization into a stacked bar graph to see, hey, what took up most of the time the machine was, in running in the plant, right, on a specific particular month. And then you can see, okay, this one had a lot of downtime. So I can drill into that month and look at the days. And then I can say, okay, why is this, downtime higher than most others? I can drill into that specific day and look at this by style of boxes to see, okay, maybe I need to optimize my, manufacturing processes for these kind of styles of boxes, right? So, and then you'll use this to hopefully identify patterns that are replicable across the enterprise to see, and make changes to your processes, right? So this is an example of another dashboard that we provide that's canned, so that you have an example.
Do you have anything customer service focused, like any out of the box type stuff there?
We do have one that's looking at, like, I don't know if I have it here to show, but it's basically, so what I have for that is I don't have like a demo available to show you, but it's basically like a comparison of all the CSRs, and then it gives you metrics like, okay, here's how many specs that were entered by CSR, here's how many orders were booked by CSR, here's a number of NCRs, workflow requests, etc. So I have something like that, but I don't know if I have a demo to show you for that. But that can be included in the canned reports to show you an idea of, what that would look like.
That'd be great.
Mm-hmm. And so,
John, any questions so far as we go, John? Just to take a time out here.
Mm-hmm.
No, from a we can pull this data current state, but it's all PDF reports where you can't drill into. So it's pretty exciting where we're going to be going to.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. So on the reporting side of it, yeah, that's what we think of reports. It's static. You can't really drill into it, and it's hard to, there's a lot of data on reports, right? So with this, like, we've tried to separate it out into, interactive reporting. We have a higher focus on reports. We think of as notification type things to say, hey, if you might have exceptions somewhere, that you want to focus on, like, just to be alerted. And that's what we would use reports for. And then we would use the scheduling functionality to get you those notifications at the right time when you need to see them, right? Something like an end of the day report where you can say, hey, here's how many orders I booked, here's how many specs I created, and here's how much I invoiced today. Kind of like a end of the day summary notification that's easier to read, and you're not, going through hundreds of pages worth of data to basically understand how you did today, right? So that's what we see. That's what we think of as for reports, and then we ultimately want you to take advantage of the scheduling functionality. And what's good about the scheduler is that you're not limited to just PDFs, right? You can also choose to get a link to the report, so you can run the report in our website, or you could also receive a Excel spreadsheet. So, if you prefer to view your data inside of Excel, then that's that's all right as well. We can do it either way. So if you prefer PDF, you'll get a PDF. If you prefer Excel, you'll get Excel. If
So
you prefer both, you'll get both.
yes, on top of this, so we're also, as a company as a whole, we're going to adopt Power BI as our kind of our presentation tool of choice, if you will.
Sure.
And we've talked to Pratik previously about being able to hit against the warehouse and as well as the local databases operationally with Power BI. So we're going to kind of look at both vehicles. The philosophy is going to be, if there's out of the box stuff like Pratik has showed us that's up and working and you just got to use it, we're not going to try to reinvent the wheel. But at like Grand Traverse, Brian Blaine and his team, I think they have like over 30 dashboards that they use that are Power BI driven against the Amtech database. But same philosophy, with updating directly from the system and all that. So you're probably, if there's something that we need that doesn't come out of the box per se, John, that's probably going to be working on either, with a Nick or somebody from the site to develop via Power BI. Think of Power BI like the modern day Crystal reports, if you will.
Yep.
Except it's all, analytics driven. So that's kind of the big picture plan.
Right. Are you guys planning on moving to Encore in the future? Or
yes. Yeah,
okay.
It'd probably be 2 more years. Probably be like 2023. But I think
Okay.
we want to get the region all on the same version so that Midland and Great Lakes can use their existing knowledge of 3.2 and help Wisconsin Packaging get acquainted with the new system. And then in a couple of years, we'll look at an upgrade, and that'll also probably bring into question at that time whether we want the enterprise version of Amtech or continue with separate instances.
Okay. Yeah. So the reason I asked is because this software is directly integrated with Encore. So essentially, what would happen is if you're in Encore, you would see these dashboards and reports as a menu option inside of Encore. So it's like running a dashboard right inside of Amtech, right? And you're not really at that point going out to any other website or anything like that to look at your data. So imagine the value of being in customer service and then opening up a customer service dashboard while you're in customer service, looking at the data, and then ultimately making decisions inside of customer service that you need to do. And it just enhances that experience of so that's why I brought that up, because you wouldn't get that necessarily with Power BI, because it's a Microsoft product that's not integrated with Encore. But yeah, it's something to think about, and as you plan to move to Encore.
Yeah, Power BI will help us kind of as we think of Amtech related data and Kiwi related data. Power BI will be kind of a vehicle that'll let us cross applications and bring data together in the warehouse and hit it without having to be app specific. So
okay, well, our tool also is not limited to just Amtech data, right. And that's a good point there. I want to show our designer at this point. So how hard is it to actually create some of these reports and dashboards? So for example, here's our designer, and if I go here to new and I can go to I can bring in any type of data source here. I'm going to pick database here. As long as you have a SQL server or any of these other types of database connections, like even Access database, Oracle, SQLite, MySQL, which is most of the common database systems out there. Not sure which one Kiwi uses, but anyways, as long as it's a database server that you know the credentials to, you can connect that data into our system, and you can build a dashboard off of that data, and that can be integrated inside of Encore, because anything you build out of our designer is integrated with Encore. So you could potentially have if you wanted to get Kiwi data inside of Amtech integrated. So
Okay.
here I'm going to pick our Amtech OLAP, which is the data warehouse. So just want to give you a little exposure to our enterprise solution here. And I'm going to go to Run Query Builder and just show you like the way that things are laid out. So we have the data warehouse laid out in a star schema. We want to call it a star schema, but it's more like a star and a snowflake combined. So we call it Starflake. And what it is we break it down into DIMs, which is dimensions, and fact tables. Fact tables being your raw data, and then the dimensions is something that you would slice and dice that data by. So for example, your invoice sales, right? I'm going to say invoice summary here. I'll bring that in. So I could potentially slice my, for example, dollars, MSF, tons, all of these numbers I could slice by plant, customer, sales agent, product code, grade, and post period. So for example, here, and as you can see, this tool also is helpful to those that don't know SQL, or you know, that are not like experts at SQL. And so here I can just say, hey, I want to look at my MSF, I want to look at my dollars, I want to look at my tons, and then I want to see this data by plant. So I can just click on that plus button. It adds an inner join for me on the right hand side. I want to look at it by customer, sales agent, and then we'll drill down to grades, let's say. And then when I did that, it added all my inner joins. So now I have those tables to pick from. I can just say plant name. Notice that all of these are clearly named in English. So you're not struggling with that database jargon that you would inside of like creating a query from the Amtech database, let's say. I'm sure someone will appreciate that. And then let's say grade description here. And now I have my data set that I want to, you know, work with. And then I can also filter if I wanted to add like a clause to say, hey, show me year to date or something like that. I could add my filters here and I can click OK. And now I have this data here to work with, and then all of these controls to then, you know, make my dashboard. So here I could easily put a card here to say, hey, show me my dollars by plant, right? Just a simple drag and drop. And then I can put a chart, let's say, here, just like this, and say, hey, show me my MSF by sales agent. And then I want to put drill down on this so you can go down to the customer and grade. So say customer. And then I'm going to put my grade at the bottom. And then now I want to make this filterable. So then I'm going to go to data, make this a multiple master filter. So I can pick one or both. And then in here, I'm just going to enable drill down. So now I can say, okay, I'm going to drill into this to see all the customers. And then I'm going to drill into this to see all the different grades that I sold to that customer in MSF. Just simple, just like that. So, and then I have other things that we can do here, just such as, you know, like pie charts that you can do here to say, okay, I want to see my dollars. And then I want to see it by plant, let's say. So I can see it's 50-50 right now because it's almost the same data in both plants. But yeah, you could do a lot of enterprise level stuff here. And then we have this feature here in here called cross data source filtering. So imagine this like you have two separate data sources, right? One coming from, let's say, Kiwi, and one's coming from Amtech. As long as the aliases for the SQL is the same. So let's say you have a machine name column, and then you have another machine name column in Kiwi, and as long as their values are the same in both databases, which I'm sure you'll be working on to standardize that, we can filter the data as if it's coming from one source using this cross data source filtering. So that's really powerful if you were to consider using this tool to, you know, do your enterprise level reporting. So, and then to upload this to the website, it's just simple as, you know, clicking this upload server button here. It'll bring up this screen here to pick a category. And then here I can hit save. And then that's it. Now this is available to any user on the website. So here, if I go ahead and refresh, There is my GBP demo. And there's our dashboard, right? So from design to deployment, it's a really quick process, and it's just easy to create as long as we have our data laid out properly in facts and dimensions. We have views that are built on the individual databases, the individual Amtech databases that are very similar. We do all the hard joins for you. We've renamed all the columns to user-friendly, easy to read column names. So all of that is already done for you, and then at this point, you're just simply dragging and dropping the data that you want to see and report off of it.
Thank you, Pasik, for that excellent demo. I know that time is valuable, especially on a Friday. John Vandervries, do you have any questions? Hopefully, this gave you a little bit of an allegorical view of what some of the capabilities that's in the software, and hopefully this is giving you a view.
Yeah, for sure. It definitely is. And it definitely seems like we can get the information we need, especially to the reps. That will be helpful, and myself and Steve, and even the operations side, those reports will be very helpful. And then we can build as we go. One thing I'd ask is if I can get this recording, and I'll, once Steve gets back from vacation on Monday, I'll give it to him to review to see if he has any questions as we move forward.
Certainly. Candace is recording it, so she'll get a notification that it's available, and then she can get you the link to that recording once it's made available.
Sounds like the plan to me.
All right. Anybody else have any other questions for Pathik on this demo? No. Again, Pathik, thank you for the demo. And,
nice job.
Yeah, excellent job. Thanks for everything there. At this point, since we have no other questions, let's just go ahead and cut out of here. I'm sure we'll be meeting again, but I think we've accomplished the task at hand, and that was to familiarize John with capabilities.
Sure.
We're going down the right road, it looks like. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Fabulous. Thank you, guys. We'll
Have a
talk to you
great
later.
weekend.
Yep. Take care. Have a good weekend. Bye.
Bye.